Stand up and tell lies about somebody. So they got me. I'm gonna stand up and tell lies back. Wes was the last of the badasses. He was a genius motorcycle mechanic, and he loved life. Somebody was looking out for Wes, whether he was religious or not. He was involved in an accident where he fell down and hit his head, and he didn't wake up again. We're the ones that suffered that. But for Wes, his last conscious thought was doing what he loved, riding his motorcycle. And it don't get any better than that. He didn't suffer. He didn't lay in a bed with bed sores and have to make decisions on medical procedures, this and that. Wes Bryant went to sleep riding his motorcycle. So somebody was looking out for Wes. Who that is, we don't know. We'll know when it's our turn. I remember the first words Wes Bryant ever said to me. I bought a Harley-Davidson from Steve Wigington, and it had been sitting in a shed for 6 years. And Steve carried it down to Wes's shop, and they had to do a lot of work to it to get it roadworthy. And I come bopping in the shop, and I said, "Which one of you guys is Wes Bryant?" And he kind of looked up and he said, "That's me, because I come down here to check on my motorcycle." I said, "I got it from Steve Wigington." He says, "Oh, you're the dumbass that bought that motorcycle." I said, "Yeah, that would be me." And I said, "How's it doing?" He goes, "Well, I don't know." He says, "The worst I've ever seen. I don't know how they wrote it in here." He says, "But I got my 2 best guys on it." And I said, "Okay, I like this guy." So we became friends. He took me under his wing, and since I hadn't ridden a motorcycle on the street, I've had dirt bikes, and he was very kind to me and showed me a lot of things and taught me a lot of things. He allowed me to ride wheel to wheel with him and some of the other guys, and I was grateful and blessed to have known him. Like my dad used to say, You only live once. And if you do it right, once is enough. And he also said that life is not measured in quantity. It's measured in quality. And Wes lived life to the fullest each and every day. He was always doing what Wes wanted to do. He enjoyed his motorcycles. He enjoyed his friends. He was a brilliant racer. He could take a motor and get everything out of it that you could possibly squeeze out of it. He loved his friends, and he took care of them. He would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to come get you off the side of the road if it needed to be done. There was a story that me and Wes Bryant and Norman Carlson and Doug Allen went down to Maxton, North Carolina for the land speed trials. This is basically like a Bonneville Salt Flats. You have a 1 mile course and you try to break records to go that 1 mile. Well, we were there for 2 days, and after we get the bike out of the trailer, I believe the record for that class was 152 miles an hour. So once we got Doug sobered up and got him on the bike, we started making passes. And every pass, Doug would bring the bike back, and Wes, once he set a baseline on that first run, everything he did to that motor, that bike went faster. And he would go out, Doug would make another pass, and he'd come back and Wes would tune it some more, and we got faster and faster and faster. At the end of the two-day run, what was it, the Fakawi Indian trial? Those are the guys that had a bike in the same class. Some Indian guys were coming, but they kept trying to get Norman to drink whiskey, and Norman's like, you certainly don't want me to be the entertainment in this event. So anyway, when it was finally all said and done, the last pass we made was 148 miles an hour off of a record of 152, and I swear, I believe if we'd have had another couple of passes, we could have got the record. Would you say so, Doug? It was close. I don't want to be up here all day, but I will tell this story about Wes that is hysterical. A few years ago, I was out with Pollock Jay in his boat, sitting out in the middle of the Coasting River, and there was a bunch of other boats tied up. We had a pool full of beer. We were drinking, carrying on. And somehow or another, Wes Bryant got a hold of a jet ski. All right, here comes Wes. The first time I'd ever seen this man without his long pair of jeans and boots and that black vest he always wore. He comes bopping up on a jet ski in his flower print bathing suit. No shoes on, no shirt on, grinning like a mule eating briar. So he pulls up beside the boat, and we got him off the jet ski, we sat him in the boat, and we carried on like we normally did, drank a bunch of beer, carried on. Well, finally, when it was time to get him back on the jet ski, he looked like a cat that somebody was dangling over a bathtub full of water. I don't know what it was, whether he was scared to fall in that river or what, but every time he took a step on that jet ski, he was all over the back. Legs white as a new refrigerator. We were digging around in the boat trying to find darker sunglasses, like, damn, Wes, cover that thing up, boy. So you talk about a man out of his element. Yeah, he finally got back on that jet ski and off he went. Like I said, I don't want to be up here all day. Paul, Wes's cousin, wants to say a few words. And I want to tell everybody in here, this is a celebration of Wes's life. This is meant to be fun. Anybody's got a story or an anecdote, please feel free if you want to come up here and speak or just stand where you are. We want this to be a celebration to share memories. There are also memory cards that are scattered around here with pens. The idea being you can scribble a note if you don't want to speak or whatever. You can scribble a note on this memory pad, and the family will see and read every one of them. Okay? So, Paul, would you like to come up and say something?
Like I said, I'm Wes's cousin Paul. I don't even know his name. Just wanted to tell you a little bit about Wes myself. The earliest memory I have of Wes, maybe 9, 10 years old. I was ducking croquet balls. He was throwing up. He could get fired up. I mean, know that. Anyway, off and on. During the time we get together and then we won't see each other for a while. And a few years ago, I was out of work and I went down to see Wes, and he said, well, why don't you come on down here and help me out? So I was down there for almost 2 years, off and on. And, finally got me an FLH while I was there, and Wes was helping me out with that. But, he was a meticulous mechanic. I tried to pull some, use a used part or something. No, he don't do that. The customer, he was dead set on getting that bike right for the customer. No crap now. And I learned so much from him on those bikes, and there was so much more I wanted to. And I got, a lot of places wanted to go, but a couple of times my back wouldn't let me. I got a bad back. Then I had surgery on my elbow and my shoulder, and I couldn't even pull a clutch for a while. But anyway, he's generous. He'd give you anything he had if he could help you out. He was right there. And I was, when I was thinking of all these things that I didn't get to do and I didn't learn, it was all, my own selfishness. Because I was, like Tumbleweed said, he took half of what I was going to say. Anyway, I got thinking about a Bible verse I remember. It said, good men die and no one takes it to heart, and merciful men are taken away. No one considering that they are taken away from the evil to come. He shall enter into peace. Like I say, I don't know how many of you know the situation, but I think it was actually a blessing that Wes didn't wake up. Much as I would have liked him to. Excuse me. But anyway, Linda, Evan, Johnny, Jimmy, Wes, I love you.
Love you.
Love you. Thank you.
Thank you all.
I can't help but think if Wes was here, what he would think of this crowd that's in this room today. We all know that he had a lot of friends, the way he treated people. One thing about Wes Bryant is you know where you stood with him, because he would call you a dumbass in a minute. More to the point, as far as Wes Bryant was concerned, everybody was a dumbass until they proved otherwise. But to get to know Wes and have him as a friend was a joy to have. And I just wonder now if he was to walk in the room, if he would laugh or punch me in the throat. I ain't real sure which way this would go, but that's Wes. When he would get working on motorcycles and he would get in his mode of concentration, it was best not to mess with him, because he would go into a zone, into a consciousness. It's almost like a musician. Myself being a drummer, you get into a zone, you get into a place in your mind, and nothing else is thought of except what he's doing. And when Wes got that thing going on, whether it be at the racetrack or in his shop building a motor, he was on his game. And again, we have lost a true icon to the motorcycle community, a friend, a guy that would help anybody. And we're all gathered here today because we all feel the same way about the man. It's incredible. We've really lost a true hero from this area. Does anybody else in this room have anything they want to say about Wes Bryant? Again, you can come up here, or you can speak from where you stand. Try to use a voice loud enough for everybody to hear you. But the family, we would all love to hear some stories. So it's on y'all. Anybody?
I'm going to say something. There's a lot of people here that I haven't seen in a long time, but we knew Wes from way back when, and I see some old people here going, some of the times that we used, you say you could do it on, well, when it was time to party, we could tie it on too. And I know that we were all going on different weekends, and we were down in North Carolina, and first it started out with the mosquito truck spraying us when we were down there. And then it rained all weekend. And then Johnny McIntosh pulled up with somebody on a Honda and slid all the way across the field with this motorcycle. But I knew he did tie it on, he tied it on, and we did lose somebody really good. But he left some good people behind too. So I think he'd be glad you come here and did what you did. He wouldn't have wanted the preacher man up there, but you did something.
Anybody else got anything they want to say? The floor is open. Please feel free to do so.
I came out from Texas, but y'all know me probably back in the 80s. I showed up out here running from law problems in Illinois back then. And don't know even how I came to Newport News. I ain't got a clue to it. But I was drawn here for whatever reason, and through stupidity ended up at the Harley shop over there off of Warwick, and walked in and got a job to uncrate the bikes and get them started for the floor and whatnot. So I started. TJ told me about this shop around on Randolph Road, and I've been racing dirt bikes and whatnot. Nothing was ever fast enough back in my day. And so anyway, I rode over there on an old 45 I brought out here, and walked in there and realized that was my destiny. This man was who I'd always searched for, because no one in Illinois or anywhere around St. Louis knew how to build one that stayed together. And I walked in there and looked around, and I grabbed a broom. And he asked me, he said, "What the fuck are you doing?" I said, "What the fuck's look like?" And he says, "Don't scatter the shit that I can't find it." And I started sweeping back there in the back of that shop. And he said, "You know I can't pay you." And I said, "Oh, I think I can get money from you some way or another." And for the next about 10 years, I was in and out of here, and stayed with him as much as I could soak up what I could. The best line I think I ever heard him say to me was, "Where did you get your speed secrets at? Down at the bus stop?" He was one of the most genuine assholes that I'd ever met in my life. And talked to him a few months ago on the phone. We stayed together and stuff. And I'm out in, like I say, Texas nowadays, and got a full-blown motorcycle shop going. And we're doing as best as we can, and I miss having that call I can make to why won't this work? And he was amazing. Y'all have lost something very much. I told her when I heard about the wreck that day, I said, "We gotta go." And there ain't nobody ever gonna replace him, we know that. But I was an honor to know him, and it's better to have than never have. So, right on, Wes. We know what you're doing today. What you did every day.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Have anything they want to say?
Yeah, I'd like to speak on his generosity. I mean, I didn't know Wes very long. I knew him for about 3 months. I worked at the shop that he was attached to, NCG. And I asked him a few times. I told him, you know, I had a deuce and I was having 2 issues with it. And, you know, he said, "Well, just bring it down." I brought it down, gave him the keys, came out of work. At the end of the day, it was all done. And just was ready to pay the piper, you know. And Wes was like, "No." He's like, "You don't owe me a dime." And I looked at him like he was strange, because, you know, people aren't that generous. You know, and he was a very generous person. And I didn't have a chance to build a relationship with him, but I know based on who's here that he touched a lot of people. and he touched me for the very short time that I did know him. Thank you.
Say something, please.
Yes.
My name is Yvonne, and I met Wes in the late 70s, early 80s when he was working with Jim McClure down in Randolph. At that time, he built the bike that I now ride with Jim. Jim was, he was like his assistant, I guess you could say. I lost my husband in 92. In 93, I started riding the bike. I'm sure Wes knew that I didn't have a clue what I was riding. But nevertheless, he was patient with me. He helped to keep my bike running for me mechanically with the engine and all, being that it was high performance. And over the years, in the last several years, Wes became really more of a friend to me than just a businessman. He shared his cell phone number with me and told me I could call him if I had any problems out there riding the bike, whether I was in Virginia or in Florida. And as a woman in a male-dominated arena, I can't begin to tell you how much it meant to have him to know that if that bike had problems, that I could call him. I will miss him for sure, and my thoughts are with you all, the family.
Anyone else? Reverend Howard?
Yeah, I'll give you a little example of his generosity. And I've known Wes and Linda many, many years. They were really young when I first met them. Anyway, there was a young fella. I bought a Heritage Softail from Al Shaw in Gloucester, and he had a son that grew up, and he got a motorcycle, and I guess it was a Sportster, and he just couldn't get anybody to work on this thing. He couldn't get it running. So he called me one day and he says, Hal, he says, I can't get nobody to fix my motorcycle, it just won't run. And I said, well, I tell you what. I gave him Wes's number. I said, you call this man right here. So he called Wes. So they made arrangements and got his bike down to the shop. Well, when it was all said and done, I didn't know this at the time. I just found this out recently when I talked to Dusty. Dusty says, he says, I took my bike down there and he fixed it. And I asked the man, how much do I owe you? And he told Wes that Hal sent him. And that's all he needed. He says, Hal sent you? He says, go on your way. And this kind of guy Wes was. He'd just help anybody. And that made me feel good because I said, wow, he done that for me, in a sense. That made me feel good. He's well missed.
Anyone else?
I'm going to tell on myself here a little bit. Several years ago, I had a Honda. It's true. It's true. And none of y'all did, right? Okay. No. I had a good friend of mine that had I think it was an 82.5 to 25th year Sportster, and he was getting ready to sell it. Well, he had some problems with it because everybody knows that one leaked and everything. So they brought it over. He brought it over to Jim McClure, and that's where I met Wes first time. Had heard about him, and didn't know how to approach him because I had a Honda. He made me acutely aware when we were outside the back of the shop at Randolph Road. And they didn't work on Hondas. He said, but you know what, you come by after work, I'll see what I can tell you. It was a Honda, that's what he told me. Now, it had some electrical issues, he fixed it, no charge, bought him a beer, that was it. But the guy that brought the bike there, he had two ways to fix it. Just put the seal in it and let the bike go, knowing the guy was going to have problems with it down the road. He said, if you want to do that, you take it to somebody else. He said the way to fix it is you got to machine that cover and put it in this other bearing, and then that'll take care of that problem. Harley never did fess up and say they had a problem with it, but Jim and Wes knew how to fix it, and there was only one way to fix it, and that was the right way. A couple of years later, my friend Johnny Baker, there was a Harley for sale that a guy was selling. It was on 74th Street. It was a 68 generator shovel. Well, I'm a 58 model, so I was always looking for a pan head. Didn't know why, but that's what year I was born. Well, I was never able to find one, and I found this 68. So I said, well, I'm going to bring it over to Wes. Well, that's about the time, it was like 83, 84. That was about the time Jim and Wes was looking at going his own way, and Jim was going to go up and build motors. So we nursed it along, and I said to Wes, I said, well, who am I going to get to keep my bike on the road? He said, well, I'm going to go into business for myself. I said, well, I want you to do this and that, and Jim was going to do the engine, and they were going to reassemble it. So Johnny Baker, I had a disassemble with the bike with a friend of mine in Gloucester, Ted, who's no longer with us. And we brought it to Jim and Wes to do the engine work, and Johnny Baker and them did the painting on the frame and everything. And so the engine was done, the paint work was done, so he had a shop on 36th Street. So the bike is called the Yellow Screamer, and it's outside today. That was the first bike that Wes put out when he went into business for himself from beginning to end. Also, Jesse's bike out here was purple, and then Tim Ballou, his bike was orange. So we had a purple, yellow, and an orange bike sitting there down on 36th Street. You had to see it. You can turn the lights off and it would still stay on. But I learned then that I had a good friend in Wes. So I'm there, I'm all excited. My wife's 6.5, 7 months pregnant, I guess, at the time, with our older son, our younger son. And I'm there and I'm thinking, well, Wes, I'm gonna watch the master at work. And he looks at me and he rolls over to the drawer. He says, these are the wrenches you're going to need. Lays them all out. And he says, let me know if you need anything. He turns his back on. And I'm looking, and then Gator came in. And I figured, well, hell, here's Gator. We were all in the ABAC chapter together. I said, well, here's Gator. He's gonna help me. He said, no, I'm here to watch you so I can learn how to put a bike together. Anytime I even sat there with that stupid look that I have, y'all see it. Wes would just look at me. I wouldn't have to say a word. He knew I didn't know what I had to do next. So I didn't want to mess it up because they stopped making 1968. Back in 1970, they went to the show. And it's all original title and everything. And he said, don't ever bore this thing out. You got something here that nobody else will have. It's all numbers matching and everything. And the unique part about it is I was at the shipyard for 33 years. And my number on my bike is the year I graduated high school in the department I was in. So I have a special place in my heart for that. But the thing of it is that no matter where I was, and no matter how many times, I never put a toolbox on it, a tool bag on it. After we rebuilt the bike, I never needed it. Now it's given me a couple problems here and there. I could pick up the phone, and like a lot of y'all, I had Wes's cell number, and he would call. Well, one time somebody said, you know, you take the money out of your pocket. He goes, these are friends of mine. So as far as a businessman, I'll let y'all be the judge about the businessman. As a good man, as a true friend, as a biker, and I'm glad to stand in front of y'all say he's my brother, and I miss him.
Thank you.
Saying he'll be missed by all of us. You can see in this room, our hearts all go out to the family. We have truly lost one of our own. And we are so glad in this community that we had him. Because no matter where I traveled, if I had to stop in a shop and they say, well, who maintains this pipe? Who built this pipe? And I'd say, Wes Bryant. And they said, you know, if he ever comes down here to Carolina, can you introduce me to him? Yeah. Said he's been at my house a few times. He came to my surprise birthday party. And I'll never forget that when he came in, because as busy as he was, and on a Saturday, a nice day, I figured that was the last person in the world I would see at a surprise birthday party. Was Wes coming in there and hung out with me and met the whole family. And I mean, it's because of him that I'm still riding today. I came home from North Carolina and it was like 14 degrees below, 14 degrees. And I pulled up to the shop and I'm all broken. And Wes is like, what the hell are you doing? You ain't got nothing to prove to nobody. You've been riding 40 years. I said, no, Wes, August the 25th this year will be 40 years. Dumbass. Thank y'all very much. I miss you all.
I'd like to say something for Wes. I've known him for a long time, and I never knew him really well. And when my husband and I first started getting into Harley-Davidson of our own, Wes had a shop down on Randolph Road, and I met him, big, tall, lanky, handsome guy. And
You know, we were kind of clueless, and he answered every stupid question that I had. Hal had just gotten out of prison. I ran into Hal down there. Wes built a motor for us, a shovelhead motor, which he let us come into his shop and watch him build it. He let me get my little hands in on some of the things so I could say that I helped build it. And that's the kind of guy he was. Well, the motor went to my living room in Hampton, and it sat there for 5 years. And we finally decided that we were not going to build a bike. That so the engine, the motor that Wes Bryant and my husband and me all participated in, it now rests in Tony B's motorcycle, and I hope it stays there. Every time I see Tony, I've known Tony a long time too, but I will always think of Wes Bryant whenever I see that bike that Tony rides. So that's a little part of Wes, riding around in the community still, and we'll all miss him. Thank you.
I'm getting the hell out of his way.
For all of you that don't know me, I'm Hampton. I've known with Wes for probably going on 30 years. He scarred me for life. He got me into doing hot rod stuff. Over all those years, looking over his shoulder, asking me questions. He taught me a lot about how to make a Harley go fast. Sucks that he's gone. I remember he called me up one day, he always tried to talk me into building a stroker motor. And I kept telling him, no, I don't think so, I don't think so. You know, I heard bad things about they don't last, this and that. He called me up to the house one day, he said, come on here to the shop, I got something I want you to see. Okay, so I go on up to the shop, come on, you hand me these 2 fly wheels. I'm like, what's those? And he says, fit your shovel head. I'm like, really? Go. Says 4 3/4 stroke. That's cool. How big it make it? 92 cubic inch. Okay, that's cool. You know, said, how long would it take to put them in it? He says, leave the bike here tonight and start tearing it apart. I can have it back till we go 2 weeks. Cool. You gonna give you the keys to your van? Go home? Yeah, sure, man. Just bring it back tomorrow. Okay. So we tore the motor out of the bike that night, and tore it all down and everything. We got it back together and everything. It got it broke in. We was out getting drunk one night, ripping and running, me and him and John the Lamb. We left the Foxy Cat going up to Dead's Dollhouse. Because everywhere we went, it was wide open throttle most of the time. So I had an old hand shifter on the bike and everything. We got out there running down the border. About 3rd gear, I went by him. About the time I hit 4th gear, broke the belt and everything. And he went on by me and we pushed the bike back to the shop. And he said, put it up there on the lift. I said, yeah, give me the keys to the van so I can go home. You know, he said, put it up on the lift, you know. I'm like, okay, so we put it up on the lift and started pulling the clutch out. He'd run me around the bathroom and everything. He comes out in the belt. I'm like, cool, you know. He says, doesn't go ride your bike. I said, well, what's the deal? He said, well, I was going to put it in this guy's motorcycle. Fuck it, I'll just tell him it's backward and I'll get him done. I'm like, okay, yeah, we do that. So we got them all put back together and everything. We went out and, you know, ripping around. And he told my brother Abel one day, he says, yeah, he says, I think I messed up. And he's like, Abel's like, why is that? He says, I built normal motors, I run mine. So everything kind of went downhill from there. You know, got that bike with tumbleweed was telling we was running down there in Max, and you know, we probably run 150 miles an hour. It would have been before it broke valve springs, the damn thing. But it was all good and everything, you know. So I tell you what, I'm gonna miss the man. Bike safe, brother.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to say anything?
Yeah, I would like to say, Wes was good with motors. I met them when him and Jim McClure down there opened up the shop off Randolph. They hadn't been there long, and I took the shovel head in there. And if any of y'all remember the shop, he had a big glass countertop. I'm in there holding the shovel head. I ain't holding it long. I'm fixing to set this thing down. So I go, hey man, somebody help me with his motor. We come around there. You remember, he still was doing it. Had a cigarette, doing his mustache like this. Hey, Jim, come here. You got somebody in Carolina. Well, needless that I know, that day to this day, I was named Hayman. Everywhere I went, oh hey man, who are you? I don't know. Well, yeah, Wes gave me that name. Oh Hayman. So I said, okay, I'll take that. That stuck. So got my motor. He said, where you from? And before I could even answer, you from Carolina, ain't you? He said, we getting something together. We're gonna change the national flower, North Carolina. We're gonna have the national flower of North Carolina is gonna be a corn dog. He saw the light in my face, like, yep, corn dog. I said, look, good luck with that for the state of North Carolina. And we in Virginia, but yeah, he was a great guy. We always talked about hunting. Here in October, we talked about getting him another crossbow and getting him away from the motors and doing some bow hunting, but didn't happen. But if I ever needed anything or called him, man, he would always find the oddest stuff for me. And he was a brother to the end, and he always will be.
I had the privilege to spend a lot of time with Wes. Stood side by side with him for a long time. Like you all say, if you had a question, you can get an answer. No matter whether it was trying to figure out a slipper clutch or just how to put something together. Met him back in the 80s. Like I say, actually got to work with the man a lot. I respected him. Like I say, there wasn't a question he wouldn't answer for you. And he will be missed. And I do remember when this man's 45 flathead seized up on the road one night, I was riding with him. I tried to throw it up the
Ladies and gentlemen, the family graciously rented this building today to accommodate all of us that wanted to be here. There's a box over there. The family would graciously accept donations to try to offset the cost of this building, if at all possible. Any little thing helps. On behalf of the family, this concludes the service. We've got the building until 3 o'clock. At 3 o'clock, we don't have to go home, but we got to get the hell out of here. Ride free, Brother Wes. We're all going to miss you. Thank you. That concludes the service.